Hello, welcome to the Mark Outward Show, Adventures in a Meat Suit. Today, I have Adam and James, who are here to talk about money. That's right, boys?
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's dive in then. What is the problem with money?
Blimey, where do we start? What a question.
Yeah, well, hell of a question, isn't it?
I don't think there's maybe there is an actual problem with the money itself, but it's how it's worked and how it's worked against you a lot of the time. Control's a big thing. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
Who controls the rules that control the money? Again, another control. I think control's a lot to do with it, to be fair. James, do you want to just kind of tell everyone kind of how we started on this journey? Because I think that'll answer a lot of questions and just let people know a little bit about what we're doing.
Let's talk about what it is that you do and why you wanted to have a chat here and what your mission is.
Well, our
mission is to educate people. We've made a lot of mistakes and done things the wrong way for a long time. We've actually gone out of our way to learn some of this stuff, and school doesn't teach you this. You're not going to learn it in school, and there's a reason. There's an agenda behind that, unfortunately.
By design.
So we've gone out of our way to learn this stuff, and we're on a passionate mission to empower other people and put these tools and information and education in other people's hands so that they can control this thing called money that you use every day and you never get taught about. You know, you get taught how to dissect a frog and, about Pythagoras and all this stuff, and you don't know how it works and how to work it, more importantly.
You got anything to add to that, James?
Yeah, well, it's basically I was in the forces for 22 years, Mark, myself, and before I left the forces, I started learning about money because I realised that there was a lot wrong about it. There's not so much money itself, but it's the system. It's the system, and I think if you don't understand the system, you're always going to fall over. If you don't understand how it works against you, then you can't use it in your own favour to look after your own family. So I just found a passion for helping people basically before I left the army, because I'd done quite well for myself. So I got to the point when I left the forces, financially I was okay. I was I didn't have to go and get a job, go and find a job. I got back to work very hard to get myself to that stage, but then I found a passion to help other people do exactly the same thing. And I used to
is that a passion to help people make money, or is that a passion to help people get out of debt? What exactly is
the whole shebang, really, mate? The whole shebang initially. It's changed as we've gone on, but basically it was to make money initially. But then we realised that so many people were in so much debt, so we started showing people how to get out of that debt. The many different ways, but they had to understand it first. I used to just pay it off for them. I used to make a little bit. But just pay off the debts for them. But I realised, Mark, it doesn't work because they're back in debt the following week.
Well, let me tell you where I come from with this and why why I was really keen to talk to you two, because I've seen you on the Charlie Ward show and I've spoken to Adam.
Yeah.
My background with money goes back to when I was about 4 years old. I used to try and advise my parents on the when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I'd be like, well, you need to do is pay this one to do this one. And they'd be like, you're too young, you don't understand, shut up. And it was like that. and then because I'm a council house kid, right? I come from a working class background. All my family are basically peasants right back to the Doomsday Book, who just, worked the land or worked in factories or whatever.
Yeah.
My mum and dad worked their nuts off. And I remember watching them working their nuts off. And I was telling somebody the other day about back in the 70s, there used to be these guys who come and knock at the door. There was a guy come around once a week to collect the insurance money, and he'd be there eating all the biscuits, drinking the tea, taking his 57 pence, whatever it was that week. I sound old now, right?
Yeah.
There was another guy. And I remember when my mum bought this Kirby, she bought a Kirby Hoover, which everybody bought in the 70s because it had attachments. You could turn it into a drill, a hairdryer, a dildo, whatever. It was unbelievable. So every housewife bought it. It was like £1,000, right? in the 70s. So it was all on the drip. All our clothes were out of the catalogue, right? The Littlewoods or whatever, and that was on the drip. So, and there were times, my mum used to be, right, if somebody knocks at the door would go, and she'd, quick, upstairs. And I'd go, why? And we'd hide. Wait till they're gone. I'd be like, what's going on? He's like, well, we owe them money. So, debt to me was like this. Oh, by the way, sorry, James, what have you got behind your head? The cross keys.
Behind your head?
The cross keys. We have.
That was the Sergeant's Mess up in York, my last unit.
We have to talk about that when we talked about money.
I've got
something amazing to tell you about that. That is the key, literally the key to the universe. But I'll come to that in a minute.
Oh, right, yeah.
So anyway, I ended up doing economics as an A-level, and then I ended up doing economics as a degree. So I studied economics for 5 years of my life, and nobody ever talked about money. They talked about money all the time, but they never talked about what it was.
Yeah.
And it was years later that I started studying the fractional reserve banking system, right? Which is what I've been teaching to my kids since they were little. Basically, that means that, these guys, the Rothschilds mainly, would they take your gold, they keep it, and then they give you a piece of paper, say that represents your gold. Because if you get a £5 note, what does it say? I promise to pay the bearer upon demand.
Yeah, exactly.
£5. So a £5 note is actually an IOU. And what people don't realise is that those IOUs used to be 100% representative of the gold that was in the bank. But over time, they realised that people started exchanging the notes instead of coming back to the bank, and then they realised they could issue more notes. And what you've got now is a banking system where maybe 1% of the amount of money out there is based on the gold. And then they got rid of the gold standard. Winston Churchill, the Satanist, Winston Churchill, as Chancellor of the Exchequer, got rid of the gold standard in 1926. Then Nixon got rid of the gold standard in America after the Bretton Woods Agreement in 46 and 72 with Nixon. And nobody really understands this and what a massive effect it's had. But now, basically, you've got a whole world that's in trillions of dollars of debt. And that's countries, companies, businesses, and individuals. So the whole thing. And then I'm just going really quickly here because I just want to explain my point of view, why I'm passionate about it. And, when you start looking into it, you realize that words like mortgage actually in French is mortgage, which is death grip, right? It's a
death grip, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
Right. So I'm really into this subject. I'm really into people. I've been in debt before. I created a business that's turned over nearly £100 million so far. So I know how to make money. Yeah. And in the system, I've realized all the solicitors, all the banks, all the everybody connected with money, they're all in a system that we're not in, and they're playing by rules that we don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
And what that means is that the whole world is on this hamster wheel. I mean, I'll finish on this bit. I was talking about the guards here in Ireland and how some of them really hate what they're doing when they're going out and policing the protesters on the Yellow Vest marches in Dublin. And I was talking to someone who knows a few policemen. And she said, they're on prescription drugs because they really hate having to do this, but because they've got a mortgage and because they've got a job and because as soon as they lose the job, the house is gone 3 months later. Yeah. That's what the big fear for most people is. So it's this big fear-based system based upon debt, and all money is illegal and all debt is illegal. Yeah. So that's my position. I'll let you.
It's just fresh air. Mark, I mean, the way I used to explain it to people is when you get a mortgage, they'll lend you fresh air, they'll charge you interest on that fresh air. Then if you don't pay that interest, pay that fresh air back with interest or whatever, they'll take your house off you. It's like an asset collection service, in my view.
On top of that, you don't actually ever own the house.
No,
even if you buy a house outright, you don't actually own it because the land underneath it belongs to somebody else.
Yeah.
So
we have to withhold it back sometimes. We have to hold the information back, depending on our audience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can't give too much because you overload people.
I've just killed that then. Sorry.
No, that's good.
That's what we used to do in the beginning. What your initial response when you've got all this information, you've learned all this stuff, is to pin people down and just offload and just give them, tell them everything about everything. And we did that at the beginning, and it's not very productive. and it doesn't actually do a very good job in
It's a bit like me.
communicating.
It's a bit like me going on about the lizards running the world, whereas most people are still at the point where they're working out that TV's lying to them. It's way too much. Way too much.
Exactly.
Too much of them. Too much.
Exactly. And this is the journey that we went on of going, well, we've told you everything, but why are you not putting it into action? And it's that piece that they were missing. It was just too much. So what we've done is kind of refine the process to make sure that we can help everyone with something. And even if people can understand things at an introductory level and don't even want to go down the rabbit hole, then it's still a good thing. So that's what we're really passionate about doing. And what we've got as well, Mark, what we'd love to do is we've got a bit of a presentation, some slides here, just to give your viewers a taste of
let's do that.
The best of the stuff that we put together. Because we can talk about it all day long, but seeing is believing. If you can see it and you can see how it all works, then
I've just enabled screen sharing for you, I think, so you should be able to.
Amazing.
Great. It's great that you're doing this, guys, by the way.
Thanks, mate.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, this is what it takes. It's people. It's all about
We get really excited about it, Mark. We're quite sad that we had them. It's not sad.
I think that's
we just get excited about it. It's the light bulb moments, Mark. When people see you can see in the audience, if you went in a seminar, but you can see the light bulbs. You can see in people's eyes when they get it.
A seminar? What's one of them? I've not been to one of them.
I know.
I've not actually met a human being since February.
Oh, it's mad, isn't it? I know. That's what our last one was, Adam, wasn't it? Down south in February it was. And that was the last one.
Yeah.
Well, you can actually see you can see them when they've got it, you know.
Oh, yeah, brilliant. Well, it's great that you do it. Talk us through this then, Adam.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through some financial concepts, if you like, some things just to educate and put tools into people's hands. None of this stuff is, from special information that only we've got access to. It's public information, okay? And a lot of it's just maths. I know people don't like maths, but when it can change your financial situation.
We just lost half the crowd there. And that is a big problem, isn't it? Because maths is taught in such a way that it's really dull.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. When it can change.
Anybody watching this who doesn't like maths, bear with it because you're going to
life. Then I think that's maths that matters.
Sorry.
Exactly. So first of all, the decline of interest rates. This is something that affects us all. So you can see, look, Australia, the UK, the US, the Eurozone, interest rates are all pretty much telling the same story, which is down and to the right, which is never good. It means that your hard-earned paper money, whether it's dollars or this stuff that's not in circulation anymore, just paper, is not working hard for you. You work hard for it, you put it in a bank, but the numbers don't allow it to work hard for you. And we'll look a little bit later on how you actually lose money putting it in a bank. But this is the first I. We have the two I's. Interest is one of them, and interest rates are extremely low, historically low in a lot of cases. In some countries, they're actually negative, which is a bizarre concept. That interest rates will be negative, meaning that you have to pay the bank just to store your money there, and it's a percentage as well. So it means that the more you've got, the more you get penalised.
There's a reason why the word bankers rhymes with wankers.
Yeah.
There's no accidents in life, is there?
Yeah. Oh, mate. Yeah, that's spot on. That. Yeah. Do you know something I always say to people too is ignorance is not bliss when it comes to your finances. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance will kick you in the ass. It'll hurt you financially.
100%.
So the next thing that we've got is something called the rule of 72, which some people might have heard of before, some people might not, but it's a really useful tool just to have a snapshot of what your interest rates, whether they're working for you or against you, and what they're actually doing. The way that it works is you take the number 72, you divide it by the interest rate that you're paying or receiving, and it tells you how long it takes in years for that money to double. So we'll go through a few examples, very simple. Imagine this first column, you've got £10,000. You've got it in a bank account and you're getting 1.5%. Okay. What you do is you take your number 72, divide it by 1.5, and that gives you 48, which means your £10,000, not putting anything else in or taking anything else out, will double in 48 years. It's the compound interest effect at 1.5%.
And I'll be dead by then, so that's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Well, this is what makes it interesting and what makes it real is, look, whether it's 48 or 50, add 50 to your age now. I'm 33, so that's going to be 83, sorry. Are you happy to wait 50 years for your money to double? It doesn't really excite you or grab your attention. No, not at all. So let's go to the next column. Imagine you could get 3% in a bank. So 72 divided by 3 gives you 24. Again, the same £10,000, putting nothing in, taking nothing out, doubles every 24 years. Now, over the same 48-year period, you've got two doubling periods. So 10,000 goes to 20,000 in 24, and then another 24, it goes from 20 to 40. Again, waiting 50, 48 years to turn 10,000 into 40,000, not that exciting, okay? 6%, you can see what's happening here. 72 divided by 6, imagine you can get 6% in your wildest dreams. That means that your money's doubling every 12 years. So over the same 48-year period, 10,000 turned into 160.
I just want to point out to the people watching this that
go ahead.
I just want to point out to the people watching this that my XRP has doubled in the last 4 weeks. So 48 years compared to 4 weeks.
Yeah,
huge difference. Huge difference.
I've got some myself, mate. I've got some myself, and I've seen it. I go, whoa, that's good. Happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in crypto for a while, and Bitcoin in the last 10 years has gone up by 66,000% in 10 years. So I'm just putting that out there to people to show that there is a completely other world from this. But what we're looking at here is this is basically my mum's world, right? My mum's world is she puts the money in, she has a little bit put away over the years and a little nest egg, and it's not a lot. It's probably less than 20,000 quid or whatever for a lifetime's work, and and they're just getting robbed blind.
Yeah, it's not fair, mate, is it? It's not fair, mate.
No.
I think that's what it highlights is banks are always seen as the safe kind of secure option, and clearly your money, well, we'll show you a little bit later on, your money's losing value. But at 6%, you could argue that, look, things start to get a little bit more interesting now, 10,000 to 160,000. I know it's a long period of time, but it grabs your attention a little bit more. Yeah. Let's take the last one, 12%, 72 divided by 12. That means that the doubling period is every 6 years. A little bit more interesting again now. So 10,000 over 48 years turns into 2.56 million. That's the reality. That's the maths. It works it all out for you. You can either the rule of 72 can either work for you or against you. So you imagine you've got a credit card with £10,000 on it. The average credit card is what, 19, 20%, something like that. Let's be kind and say it's just 12%. This rule of 72 can work against you. So if you've got £10,000 on that credit card at 12%, you could be paying the bank 2.56 million if you're not paying the capital off.
Well, what you just said is great. Like the rule of 72 works against you, but it's also worth saying what it does do is it works for the banks.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
when you've got this
for you is a liability for the bank and a liability for you is an asset for the bank. So it's when you're paying, someone's gaining.
Yeah.
So we just help them turn it around. We educate them and help them use this information, use this knowledge in their own favours, against the banks. Rather, the banks must hate us, Adam.
Yeah.
No, I think the banks are all going to be out of business in quite a short period of time. But that's not happened yet. So let's keep going. It's really good.
Yeah. So this just gives people a snapshot. And look, 1.5%. Some people are even getting 1%. Well, 72 divided by 1 is 72. That's 72 years. Some people are getting 0.5%. 72 divided by half is 144 years for your money just to double. Basically, the short version of this is your money cannot grow in a bank. The numbers do not allow it. And we always say, look, sending paper money to a bank is like sending it to the graveyard. It just, it's losing value over time. Here's how we can use the rule of 72 in your favor, talking about mortgages earlier on. Most people, I would say, pay their mortgage on a monthly basis. Yeah. Well, what people don't know is interest is calculated daily. So the longer that you leave your mortgage unpaid within the month, that is interest on interest. It compounds within the month.
So it's actually getting bigger. So by the time you pay, you think you're paying a regular amount each month, but you're actually in real terms paying less each month as you go along. So
exactly.
in that respect, it's like a regressive tax like VAT. So just to explain that to people, if VAT is 20% and you pay the same 20% on a Twix and you're on 20 grand a year as somebody who's on £1 million a year, then that percentage of tax to that £1 million a year earner is far, far smaller than it is to, so it's regressive, which means it's working against you. So that's great. I get that.
No, it's a good, really good point, that, mate.
But it's a trick. Yeah. It's all a trick, you see.
And you can see that here. So again,
they're like magicians, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, they are. They're black magicians.
Yeah.
You can see here, again, we like to keep it simple because when things are simple, people can take action. That's why the system is complicated, so people don't take action. But we like to break it down. We're simple blokes ourselves.
So we work very hard at them, don't we, at keeping it simple. We go into ourselves and we bring it right the way down to simple and just straightforward as straightforward as possible.
Which is absolutely essential, because when I talk about this, I bamboozle people. I don't mean to. I've been, so it's really, really good. So excuse me if I fly off. You just keep pulling me back.
No, we're good. All good points. Let's look at this house here. The price would be £200,000. I think it's worth noting this blue section here is how much capital still needs to be repaid. And if all things were equal, then a 25-year mortgage at 12.5 years, you would have paid half off. But that's not how mortgages work. Mortgages are like any revolving debt. It's just like a big credit card. And it keeps you with the principal high for as long as possible. So you pay mainly interest off at the beginning, and then it tails off towards the end. So getting the rule of 72 working in your favor, because interest is calculated daily, the shorter time periods that you can pay off any amount stops it compounding. It just stops it in its tracks before your mortgage off every 2 weeks rather than every month. Then that would dramatically change the amount that you would pay, and obviously the amount that you could save, more money in your pocket. What I mean by that, just to be really clear, is let's take it really simple. 4 weeks in the month and £400 mortgage. Again, just for the ease of numbers. We're not saying pay £400 every 2 weeks, because that would just be overpaying and doubling your payments. We're saying £200 every 2 weeks, because what that does.
I get it. Yeah, brilliant. That's brilliant.
It's short.
You're not paying any more, but you're eating into it quicker.
Yes, because the interest from day one, when it goes unpaid, it then rolls over to day two, which then is interest on interest. Yes.
So actually, could you do that on a daily basis? Could you set up a daily direct debit for the same monthly amount to cancel out the interest?
Essentially, yes, but whether that would be applicable with your bank, your mortgage provider, and
what a great idea, though.
Yeah, it's very straightforward, mate, isn't it? But people don't realise they can do it.
That's so simple.
Because it compounds daily, the most efficient, if we were just looking at efficiency with no limits, it would be daily that you would pay it off, 28 days in a month, and you divide it by 28, and that's what you would do. Okay? Now, you're only saving a tiny amount, but a tiny amount every month over 25 years on a 200 grand property makes a big difference.
It's compound, yeah.
Yes. So if we look at this, if we did bi-weekly payments, so just every 2 weeks, here's what the picture would look like. You would save over £13,500 in interest. That's putting your money in your pocket. Okay. You would also pay the mortgage off 4 years earlier. Plus, because you've paid it off 4 years earlier, you've also got some spare cash because you're not paying your mortgage, which means in total, you would have nearly £62,000. You'd be £62,000 better off in this scenario, just paying the same amounts on a bi-weekly basis than monthly.
I love that. That's such a simple thing for anybody to do.
Yep.
I love
it. And the powerful thing is, it's not costing you any more.
Yeah, I get it.
It's just helping you accelerate out of that debt as quickly as possible and putting more money in your pocket and being smart. You don't get taught this in school, okay? So we want to just empower people and put the tools in your hand, and then you do whatever you want with them, okay? So this is actually,
you know what I just said about the daily direct debit.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried that?
Weekly. I think most of our guys do it weekly, don't they?
Are they? But I mean, okay, if you did it weekly, that would, in this scenario, if you did 50 quid a week instead of 100 quid a week instead of 400 a month, what would that do? That would reduce it even more, wouldn't it?
It does.
Yeah, not much more, but it would.
Yeah, not much more, and that's the point. Monthly, obviously, there's a lot. Bi-weekly, it shaves it down. Well, you can see here, 62 grand in this example, and weekly, the difference between weekly and bi-weekly, not a massive difference. So I guess you have to balance the logistical nightmare and any hassle compared to the benefits. It's something you can be doing for a long period of time, so it needs to be sustainable. Also, this is calculated with interest being low. We've said interest rates are low, which if you've got cash in the bank is a bad thing. But while you've got a mortgage, if you're tracking the mortgage rate, then it's a benefit. You're not paying as much interest. If those interest rates go up, then paying it every 2 weeks is going to be of even more benefit because you're paying even more interest down. I hope that's not confused people, but basically, the shorter period, the better. Make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. The other I that we've got, so that's interest, is the second I is inflation. And this is, we kind of call it a secret tax because you don't really see it happening. And this is why it's powerful in a negative sense. So you can see here inflation and averaged inflation, Australia, the UK, Eurozone, and America, 5.34, 1.7%. While ever inflation is above your interest rate after tax, you are losing money. That's the stark reality. So you can see the numbers of inflation are bigger than the numbers of interest rates. It means you're losing money, unfortunately. It's the bad news before the good news.
You're pissing in the wind, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
That should be the title of your book.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Pissing in the wind, finances explained.
The other thing is,
Yeah.
It's true.
when we look at paper currency over time, absolutely. When you look at paper currency over time, you can see here, this is comparing gold being that kind of straight golden line at 100%. And this is all the different some of the different paper currencies that have been in existence or are still in kind of circulation. And you can see it's the same picture. Keeping gold the same, paper money has either gone to zero and out of existence, or it's lost 95, 96, 97, 98% of its value. Paper money does not hold its value. It's not designed to do that. It's designed to be printed and manipulated.
It's the tool of our enslavement.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
And what's interesting about this graph is that first big drop that I can see is the orange line, which is the mark, right?
Yep.
And then the next one is what's that grey one? Is that the pound sterling? And then that purple one is the yen. So that first big drop there is just after the Federal Reserve was privatized, after they faked the Titanic and got rid of the opposition to take over the Federal Reserve Board and turn it into a private company to print the money from America, right? Which is about 1913. Coincidentally, what happened? World War I, which is why they dropped the mark there.
Yep.
Yeah, because they control all of this.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
interesting, really interesting stuff. Oh,
And
that's
look,
what I've been listening to.
And
Mark.
look at the other one. Look at the other one. That other really big drop there, which is the right schmuck, which is about 1945.
yeah,
Yeah, because that's when they fucked up Germany, split it into two, and did all of that crap.
Yeah.
And then the European currency, the Deutschmark, that was about 1950. I can't see what the European currency is. The European currency unit, what is that? Because the euro didn't come in until much later, did it? So is that like a medium of all the European currencies? I guess that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But these drops all coincide with mass control of countries, and it's the tail that wags the dog, because if they can do it, it's like the Zimbabwe. I've got 130 trillion Zimbabwe dollars here.
Yeah.
Cost me 150 quid, you know.
I think that zooming out, which would you rather have, the straight line at the top or the ones that are, call them something different, you know, call it Iraqi dinar or call it a pound, a dollar, a yen. Yeah. They're all going down. Which would you rather have?
Everybody should have some gold.
Absolutely, and this is what we're coming on to.
It's not
the lifespan of fiat currency. Fiat currencies has been around 770 odd fiat currencies. Not all of them are still in circulation. Some are holding on, just about. But the average lifespan is 27 years. So they're not made to last forever. If you look back through history, you'll see. Whereas gold, you know, 2,500 years plus, it's been around and it's still here today. I mean, look, this has come and gone. This is still here. Tiny little 1 gram of gold. It's absolutely tiny. It's about
How much is that at the moment, Adam?
That's 1 gram, maybe 45, 50 quid. Cool. And this is 10,000.
Yeah. It's much better. If anybody watching this is like putting away 50 quid a month even into a bit of the savings account, it's much better to go and buy one of those a month instead.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. Do you know that's a question we always ask, Mark, at our seminars. When we were doing seminars still, we just ask, you know, which would you rather have? We'll show them the cash and we'll show them the gold. If you were to keep one or the other for 10 years under your pillow and then pull it out, which would you rather have? What's going to buy you more? And everyone always points to the gold. And then we always ask the question, well, why do you save in the bank then in paper currency? And they all go, well, we didn't know any better. Well, you do now. Go and take some action and do something about it. You know, so it's been a tough love, isn't it, Adam? Do something about it.
You have to be honest with people. I mean, let's bring all this together. So here we bring the two eyes together. We've got the interest rates and the inflation. Here's what it looks like for people in a bank account. So we bring this £10,000 back again, and we imagine that you stick it in your local bank account and you're getting 1%. Yeah. At the end of the first year, putting nothing extra in, taking nothing extra out, you make £100. That's the 1% of the 10,000. You get taxed on that because the government want part of the upside as well, because they always do. So you're left with a cash figure at the end of year one, £10,080. That's the interest part. Let's add inflation and see where that leaves us. Well, look, inflation fluctuates all the time. We can take an average. Let's be kind to the banks and say it's 3%, just 3%, which with the money that's being printed at the moment, I think there's a tsunami of inflation on its way. But let's just take 3%. We take 3% off 10,080, which is the value of that 3% is £302.40, which means your 10,080 has a buying power of 9,777.60, and that is how you lose 222.40 in 1 year, hidden in plain sight, right in front of your eyes. Now, we have to be really clear at this point that the figures that you would see in your bank account is 10,080. And this, like we said before, is why it's so powerful in a negative sense. Because if you saw the numbers rolling back each month, we'd all be asking questions saying, hang on a minute, where's this money going? Who's taking it? You know, I want to have a nice little word with them.
Oh, you've gone quiet.
Okay, so this is why inflation is powerful in a negative sense, because you don't see the numbers rolling back. Okay, if we all did see the numbers rolling back in our account, we'd all be asking questions and wondering what was going on. but it doesn't. The money just loses value, and everything else goes up in price. So you don't see it. This is if interest rates were at 1% and inflation was at 3%. The reality is inflation's probably much higher, and interest rates are probably lower. So the reality is potentially worse than this. And also, this is every year. So the longer you keep your money, paper money, in a bank, obviously you need maybe some for daily transactions, things like that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people that they've got excess cash stored in a bank. It's a lot of pain. You're being caused a lot of pain, and you perhaps don't realize it until you do this kind of, or see this, or do this kind of calculation.
It's under the radar, Adam, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's there for a reason.
They're stealing off you under the radar without you knowing. Somebody's got their hands in your pockets and you don't even know it.
100%. And not only do you not know it, you don't believe it.
Yeah. Trying to convince people that that's what's happening.
They can't believe it. They just, because they've spent trillions on building trust up in the banks. And even when you have something like what happened in 2008, people still go back to the banks. I mean, there's a guy I met over in Ireland here, and he was tutting at all the new cars going by, all the 2020 plates. He was just tutting. He says they haven't learned a fucking thing.
Yeah.
10 years ago, all those cars were being repossessed. All those new cars. Now they're back on it again. Oh, we can borrow money again, get a new car, and that's how it works.
It's too easy, isn't it, to borrow? And that James always said to me years ago, and I never kind of understood it. Me and James, just to let you know, we're family. So James is my wife's cousin. That's how we kind of started talking. And
I thought you said James is my wife. Then I was like,
yeah, James.
Hi, sweetie.
James is my wife. And he always said to me, look, even if you looked at what everyone was doing, the masses, and did the opposite with no other information, you'd probably end up better than in a better situation.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't really know what you were doing. So this is how interest and inflation work together. Talking about gold, here's the performance of gold. Here's what gold has done against different paper currencies. And here's why what we think people should do, and what we do for ourselves and our families is saving gold. This stuff here. And we'll tell you why.
We don't do ourselves, is it, Adam?
Look at the picture. Yeah, between 2005 and 2020, you can see it's a mainly green picture. So gold has mainly had a positive performance against paper. There are some red years because, look, nothing goes up in a straight line. Anyone that tells you buy XYZ today and you'll be a millionaire next week, run a mile, because it doesn't exist. Yeah, Mark's got his there. Yeah, perfect.
We love the shiny stuff, don't we? We love it.
They're about gold and silver.
Exactly.
You can't
this is why.
I got one for my son. I got him a gold silver bar for his birthday. So just hang on to that.
Good little present, aren't they? Good little presents.
Well, we've got to teach the kids, you see, because the kids know fuck all. Like we knew nothing when we left school about money. The kids are the thing, and the school are teaching them nothing at all.
Nothing.
Oh, Mark, I've been teaching my brother's kids, and I've been teaching my own one. He's only 2. But I've been teaching my brother's kids the rule of 72. So, you know, what we just gone through, so they can teach their teachers it. So that'd be quite entertaining.
Well, I even teach my bank manager. I went to see my bank manager 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I said, listen, you need to buy some XRP. He said, what's that? I said, you're a bank manager and you don't know what XRP is. And he had no idea.
Everyone's so in the system though. They're so plugged in.
Yeah, because the people need to understand that. The people who work in the banks don't get this either.
Yep. We've had many people that have gone to the banks or gone to their mortgage company and said, I want to do bi-weekly payments. And they've said, it can't be done. And we know it can, but there's so many roadblocks and people just don't know. This is our mission, to get the knowledge out there.
Right.
So looking at this, you can see, you can see that it's mainly green. Gold has mainly had a positive performance against paper money. That's what paper money is designed to do, lose value. You can see at the bottom there, there's the average, and that's the most important point. Saving in gold is not a short-term thing, it's a long-term thing. So you can see the average at the bottom looking at all that the range of percentages, the lowest is 9.2 and the highest is 14.1. Gold has averaged each year between 9.2 and 14.1 as a performance against paper money. Now think back to the rule of 72, it was between 6 and 12% when things started to get interesting. Okay. This is 9.2 and 14.1 that gold has performed. Let me, if you've not if it's not hit home with any other slides, the final one that will, if you don't get it from here, then we'll have another chat. But this kind of really cements it. Let's take the two pictures. The first one, we've got Ford in 1910. We've got a nice average family car of the day, looking as aerodynamic as a brick. And it would cost £654 in 1910, or the equivalent of 1,300 grams of gold. If we put the £654 under our pillow and pull it out in 2020, what can it buy us? Well, it doesn't buy us an average family car of the day. £654, 3 wheels, but probably not 4. Yeah. If we go back to 1910, take the 1,300 grams of gold and stick that under our pillow, we pull that out in 2020, and it's worth £61,500, and it can buy you a very nice motor. An average family car of the day. The gold is maintaining its purchasing power, whereas the paper money is absolutely not. It is losing value year after year.
The only problem is you'd be 110 years old. You wouldn't be able to drive the fucker.
You're crusty.
Well, we can't vouch for that, and I'm not sure who would insure you. But this illustrates the point. Look, over a long period of time, we can talk about short term, but really long term as well. This is the reality, and this is what we want to get across to people, that look, your paper money that you trade your time and your life for, get it working hard for you. Otherwise, as you said, Mark, you're making money for somebody else. You're earning the money yourself, and then you're putting it in a bank, and the bank are lending it to other people in loans and fractional reserve. And you're not benefiting. You're having your trousers pulled down and having your bum smacked, aren't you? It's just not fair. Yeah. So this is the kind of the snapshots, the best of the best stuff, just to give people a taste of, to educate them and how we can help them. We've spent a lot of time doing the wrong thing, learning all this stuff, making huge mistakes, and compiling this information together to put tools into people's hands that they can go and use. Information without application is useless. You need to do something about it. If it's okay with you, Mark, if any of your viewers or anyone wants any help with any of this, we'd love to help in any way that we can. Are we good just to put a few details up there of how they can get in contact if they want any help?
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, I've got a lot of viewers that are in Australia and America and places like that, and Scandinavia. That doesn't make any difference to you guys, does it? Because this is the universal principles across all countries.
Yeah.
It's just maths. And look, maths in the UK, maths in Australia, maths in Scandinavia, just numbers.
It's not maths. It's not maths in America. It's math.
Oh, it's math. That's true. Maths or math.
Yeah.
But all the systems are rigged. It's all paper currency.
100%.
So we have this website, Goldbusters. It's like Ghostbusters, but goldbusters.co.uk. And it's just a simple page for people to put in their details and just get in touch with us. And we'll just have a chat. And we'll be very honest. Look, we don't give advice. We don't believe in advice, because advice is like an opinion. Everyone's got one and they change. What we want to do is educate people, have a chat, look at your situation, and just see if we can help you. And if we can't, we'll let you know. We'll be very honest about it. But just getting these tools into your hands, that's our passion.
Well, that's a great thing that you're doing. And everybody that's watching this, there's like levels you can go into it. I mean, we talked. James and I talked about that while you were having the sound thing. It's this is perfect, because this is where most people are at. It's like when I first really understood money, I was really bloody angry, actually.
Yeah, we've been through that stage.
You go through a real angry phase when you realise just how spanked you and your ancestors have been.
Yep.
You know, I was talking to my son about my great granddad and this morning, and you know, he works. God, I mean, he used to work barefoot in a gas plant in Coventry in the 1930s. He lost 2 toes doing that, and he'd be there like 12 hours a day. You know, and all the miners who worked in those horrible conditions in the mines all over the world, and some still do. You know, it's just fucking really. They just get raped with this financial system. So that's why I wanted to speak to you guys, because I'm very passionate about getting rid of this system that we're in. But whilst we're in it, it is about, you know, firstly getting people to see just how fraudulent it is, and not to get complacent. I think one of the reasons why people might learn the information but then not take the effort to do anything is because they've just made it so easy. It's like the tap of the card.
Yeah.
You know, last year there was no tapping. Then it was 30 euros here, and then the pandemic happened, and then it's 50. Then it's 50 euros. And it's all, everybody needs to understand this. It's all designed to take cash out of your hands, because they want to know every single transaction that you're making. Now, see, I've said for quite a long time that cash in and of itself, and by the way, when I say cash, this is cash, right? This is the true cash.
Real money, isn't it?
Real money.
Yeah.
Real money. This is real money, right?
Yeah.
So this is the last bastion of freedom for mankind, because it's untraceable, it's yours, and this is where sovereignty comes from. And sovereignty just means taking responsibility for every aspect of your life. And money is one of the biggest aspects of everybody's life. So I commend the work that you're doing. And I think you're doing a fantastic thing. I've got a question. If people come and get hold of you, how do you make? Is this a service? Is it a paid service? Or do you make money out of it? How does it work? I mean, because you can't help everybody, can you?
We try and help as many people as we can. Some people, we can usually help people, even if it's just the education and their eyes being opened, to not fall into the traps that are kind of set in front of them. Just to digress slightly, I always remember when I turned 18, the amount of letters that I got sent when I was 18 with pre-approved credit cards.
Oh yeah,
And looking back now, when things are easy and it's easily available, it's probably not good for you in that sense.
Well, I mean, what is the difference between a bank sending you pre-approved credit card when you're a university student or you just starting work or whatever? What is the difference between that and some guy coming up to you at a party and giving you a few E's or some Charlie for free? It's no different. It's no different. It's exactly the same. Because then you go back for more. Because once you're in it, you're in it. It's just like nicotine addiction. It's like computer. They've just got us addicted to these things.
You understand the psychology of human beings, don't they?
Well, they've had us worked out for a very long time, but I think we're waking up to it. It's great. It's great to see you guys waking up to it. It's great.
So just to answer your question, we don't charge anything for what we do. We have a few companies that we work with that we use ourselves and have done for the past 4.5, 5 years. So if people do want to buy gold or things like that, we can actually point them in the right direction if it's right for them. You know, I've actually spoke to a few people, one this morning and one yesterday, and it wasn't right for them. They just said, I've got a deposit, I'm waiting for my house in a couple of months, and I'd love to save it in gold while I wait for my house. And I just said, it's not a good idea. It's a lot of money. The gold price could fluctuate. And then you can't pay for your house. You know, it's not a good thing. But if it is right for people and they have their eyes open, then the companies that we work with, they just help us out and just support what we're doing. So it works. It works for everybody. It's win-win.
That's right. Win-win.
Only if it's right.
It's really good system.
We're very passionate about only doing what's right. For the right people in their situation.
Yeah, we do what's right by them 100% of the time, Mark. We always say we're not salesmen. We're just people that give a shit. We care. And I found this passion for this back in 2012, 2013. like I said before I left the army, I just enjoyed doing it. And I just thought, well, why don't I do it when I leave the army and just carry it on, sharing that knowledge, sharing that information and helping people out financially, you know? And education is key.
Great thing. It's a great thing. I really appreciate you both coming on. I could chat to you all day. I've got to go and chat to Ashley Lane now, the boxer. So I'm
brilliant. Flipping it.
Yeah, I'm quite excited about that because he did a match on Saturday and he used one of my poems to come on and put it on Sky Sports to come on to.
I've heard of your latest one. I've heard of your poem.
Oh,
brilliant.
Which is
Adam about it.
I couldn't believe it. I thought there's no way they're going to let him play that. So I'm going to have a chat with him in a minute. But what you're doing is brilliant, and we've got this whole Jasara and Nasara stuff. I'm sure you're aware of all of that.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to catch up with you guys in the new year, because I think there's going to be a lot of changes financially in the next few months.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
With all of that, I just say to people, look, hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Exactly. That's my advice. That's exactly why you've got to buy some gold, buy some. You've got to spread it out a little bit. So because none of us know exactly what the future is going to be, but a bit of education like this goes a very, very long way. And if you've got 1 million people to do what you're talking about, how much would that take out of the bank's pockets? It's huge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Massive.
So look, I think you're doing fantastic things, and I really appreciate you coming on. And I hope you enjoy the winter solstice on the 21st, because that's a big day.
Oh yeah.
And whatever happens with that, I hope you have a great Christmas. And
and you, Mark, and you, mate.
You get in touch anytime.
Thanks so much.
Get in touch anytime. If there's any changes in anything that you think is worth talking about, just get in touch. But,
yeah. No, thanks for your time, mate, and great what you're doing too, mate. It is. I've been following it, so
thanks so much for what you're doing.
Thank you very much. No, we're all at it. We're all in it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, mate. Totally, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.